Welcome, everybody. It's so good to see you again. So I'm grateful to be here. The way this works tonight is more than anything, I want to make sure that I can give you something of value that you can take back with you. I've interviewed tons of students, worked with parents, worked with administrators, and there's been a theme and there's been patterns, and I want to share those with you in the form of 5 simple rules. Now, don't be nervous if we get pretty deep into this and you're like, Harlan, you're only on rule number 1, right? Don't worry. I will get to the rest. Rule number 1 and rule number 2 are really the most intense rules. So to start things off, I would like to know how you are feeling, how you are doing, and you don't have to text me. I can just talk to you and see. So I'm curious, and you could just use your hands for this. So how are you feeling tonight on a scale of 1 to 10? And if you can show me with your fingers, I would love to see where you are. Where are you tonight? You're a 9. You're a 9. That's outrageous. And you're an 8. That's very good. Not a 9. But you want to know, why are you a 9 tonight?
Nothing's really gone wrong today. It's been a good day.
Nothing has gone wrong today. It's been a good day. I would say that's a great... Are you usually a positive person?
Yes.
So in the past month, what's been your lowest number?
Probably a 5.
A 5.
Okay.
You don't get under a 5.
Well, I'm sure I do, but...
Right, that's very impressive. So, right, 5 is your bottom. You bottom out at 5. I love that. What number are you? You're a 5, so you're at her bottom. Right. So this is as bad as it gets. And why are you a 5?
Just had an easy day. I went to work. I had the soccer game.
Work, soccer.
She's tired. Yes.
You're exhausted.
Yeah.
And what grade is your child?
I have 2, 7 and 8.
7th grader and an 8th grader. Those are terrible ages. I'm so now I know why you're a 5. I get it. And how about you? What number are you?
I'm an 8.
You're an 8. 8 is pretty good. And how old are your students?
5.
You have a 5-year-old? Oh, you actually have a kindergartner? Wow, it's so great. They're so bright and hopeful. Do you have a hopeful kindergartner?
Yeah.
Or a sad kindergartner?
She's a happy person.
She's a happy person. That's wonderful. And then, let's see. What number are you? Are we able to do this? I want to include everybody. So if I can't, that's okay. But I'm thinking of you as well. What number on a scale? You're a 6? And what number are you? An 8. And do you have any kids who go to school within this one? How old are yours? What grade? A freshman and a junior. So the junior, that's intense, right? Test season. What about you? A sophomore and a 7th grader. Okay. I have a sophomore, and I have an 8th grader, and I have what do I have? And I've got a 3rd grader. It's hard to remember. It's very hard. And what about you? You're an 8, and what brings you here? What grade is your child?
Sophomore and 6th.
A sophomore and a 6th grader. Okay, sophomore. That's exciting. And what about you? What number?
7.
You're a 7. It's pretty good. Do you feel like you can't be low because of the conversation, or do you feel like your number's been impacted by other people's, or were you a 7 in the beginning?
I was a 7.
You were always a 7. Very nice. And what about your children or child?
I have a 4th grader and a freshman.
A 4th grader and a freshman. So freshman, it's a big change, especially coming off of COVID. And what about you?
I was the 8, and every day's an 8 for me. That's just me.
Every day's an 8.
It is.
I love it. Every day's an 8. And what grade are your?
My daughter's a junior.
You have a junior. So you've got college on your mind. Is that on your mind? In your daughter's mind? What is the most troubling thing? What's the biggest challenge that your child is facing right now?
She's my only girl. I have older children that have already graduated from college, but just the girl is different.
The girl is different.
Very.
Okay, very different. And what makes the girl, and I hope you can hear, I'm trying to repeat a lot, but I also want to give you your personal space given the environment we're in. So don't think I'm not very personable. I am, I'm just not in your face. What makes the freshman, your junior girl, what makes her so different?
I think time in society, change. There's just so much change now.
So much change. And does she want to go to college?
Yes.
That's important to her and to you as well? And 2 older siblings who are in college?
Graduated already.
Graduated, so there's some time. I'm the youngest by 8 years in my family.
Exactly. What too?
Yeah, so I know how that can go. And, I learned from my older siblings, but I also struggled a lot. So that was challenging. Did I ask you your child or children?
3rd grade, 6th grade,
3rd grade,
college.
6th grade,
like
and
sophomore, junior, college.
oh wow, 3rd grade, 6th grade, sophomore, junior, and college. And then you got a lot going on. And then, are you a student? Yeah. What grade are you in? You're a freshman. And then do you know this person? Yes, my mom. That's your mom. That's very exciting. Welcome. Thanks for being here. Freshman year is a hard year. How's it going for you? I'm sorry to keep talking to you, but how is your freshman year going? Good? What's been the hardest part?
Just trying to get all the work in.
Trying to get all the work in? And socially, do you find it easy? Do you have friends here?
Yeah, I have.
So you're good with that. And then do you have any after-school activities?
No, not really.
No? Just homework?
Yeah.
Do you want to have after-school activities?
Yeah.
You do, because it's very important.
I'm in band as well.
You're in band, and then what else are you going to do?
Probably anime club.
What's that?
Anime club.
Anime club. That's great. So band and anime club. Anything else? Those 2. Great. That's good. Because it's really important. What's your name? Fernando? Fernando, it's really important that you have your 3 places. 3 places outside the classroom. And it's something that they don't really talk about, but one of the things that so many students struggle with is they don't have their places. And it's good, you got to do well in school, all right? You got to do well. But the most important thing, and this differs, is having your places where you can sweat, play, pray, live, learn, work, love. That's it. Sweat, play, pray, live, learn, work. Those are the places. And grades are important, but one of the things that we've recognized, and also research has recognized, is that where you go to school, where you go to college, if that's your choice, is not the most important part of success. It's actually what happens once you're there. So this idea that you would need to go to the best to live the best life is not true. It's 100% not true. And it may help in some situations, but there's a wonderful researcher who I interviewed. Her name is Denise Pope. Denise runs a program called Challenge Success, and actually does research and works with schools to help students to develop the skills so they can be successful. And one of the most startling pieces of data is that the school that students go to is not what has the greatest impact, which is really a relief if you have a kid who's a junior, or if you stumble, Fernando, and don't get the grade that you want, you're still going to be okay. It's not about getting the grade, it's what happens when you deal with the discomfort. It's what happens once you face those obstacles. And your daughter, who's that junior, who sounds like she's an original and wants to pave her own path and isn't really interested in what came before her, is that accurate?
First one to attend public school. She wanted to be here for people.
So she wanted to attend public school and lots of different ideas and interactions. But the most important piece for her, and I also have 3 kids, is what do they want? Why do they want it? And where are the places they could do what they want? And who are the people they're going to surround themselves with? I mean, it really makes it so much easier, because if Fernando and your kids and your kindergartner, who's got the kindergarten? You got right. If your kindergartner can just answer the question, what do I want? Every year. And it can change every year, multiple times in a year. And you can support her journey of finding her places and finding her people and feeling what it's like to experience what she wants, watching her have successes, but also watching her have a lot of challenges, a ton of rejection. I'm the king of rejection. I teach rejection, not because I want people to get rejected, but because I want to give them the skills so that when they want something and don't get it, they understand how to work through it. Because the hard part is to keep wanting. The hard part is to keep dreaming. The hard part is to keep believing. And the only way to clear the path is to be great at handling the rejection and challenges and difficulties. And given what we've been through, so many students are resilient and are in a place of strength, but as parents and as family members, it's really helpful to have some rules. So I want to share this with you. I want to give you a framework to guide you. So it all starts with big dreams. Everybody is here because there's something you want for your child or children, right? Like, that's why you're here. And you're probably here, Fernando, because you have no choice, right? You were forced to be here. But I'm so glad you're here. If you listen to this, it will actually be helpful, right? Like, I love freshmen, working with freshmen, because you have the ability to dream big, man. You can do anything. You're starting with a perfect record, right? And I believe whatever you want. What do you want? What's your dream, Fernando? Do you have one? No. You have no dream? And are you just being shy?
No, not that. I really just genuinely don't have one.
You don't have a dream. Has anybody asked you what your dream is?
Yes, multiple times. I've said the same answer. No, I don't.
You don't know? What do you dream of eating for dinner? Did you eat dinner already?
Yeah.
You did eat dinner. What do you dream of eating tomorrow?
Probably the same thing my mom made.
The same thing your mom made?
Yeah.
What's that?
It's just few tacos.
A few tacos. You dream of tacos. I like tacos too. And Fernando, and if you don't want me to talk to you, I don't need to, okay? Do you have any romantic feelings? Is there anyone you dream of meeting romantically? No. It's a difficult, uncomfortable question. Not surprising. And I'm going to leave you alone now. Oh, with the band. You're in band. Is there a particular instrument or thing you want to play in band?
No, not really. I already play clarinet.
You play clarinet. So that's exciting, Fernando. So I'll give you a challenge, okay? Have something that excites you, something you'd want to do. If it's anime, who is the anime artist you love the most?
It's probably the guys that made Darling in the Franxx.
The guys who made what?
Darling in the Franxx.
I don't know what that is. Dolly and the Franks?
Yeah, Franxx.
Franks.
Franxx. As a F-R-A-N-X.
F-R-A-N-X. So you have those people, right? And would that be a dream to work with those people? So so you do have a dream. And does that seem like a realistic dream?
Yeah.
It does. That's great. Because this idea of wanting and dreaming, and I love talking, thanks for talking to me, it makes it easier for me. This idea that whatever dream you have is a great dream, but you need to have a dream, right? Like, we're so scared of dreaming because we're so afraid of disappointing ourselves. And most importantly, we're afraid of disappointing mom and anybody else who's invested in us. So it's an interesting thing. Can your kids dream? And can they dream their dream, or do they have to dream your dream? And that's a real challenge. I'm a big fan of believing that whatever their dream is, they're worthy and deserving of it, and good things will happen. It's a big challenge. There's been so many challenges this year. I see the masks, the lawn graduation. I love this picture. This was actually after the students, I believe, walked through the elementary school, I'm pretty sure, where they do that walk so that the younger students can see their future and they can dream really big. So a lot of us have been beat up in the past 18 months. This picture on the left, that was my 7th grader's morning. That was what he saw when he woke up and went to the computer to do his virtual learning. This thing is I cannot believe how overwhelming that is. And then he would click on these links, which would take him to another page with another link. And he would have to somehow get all this done and feel good enough and worthy of whatever he wants. And he failed a lot. He didn't always get his work done. He would get in trouble going on other screens because he would be on the computer and got really good, and it was hard and difficult. I have another son who was in 8th grade, and his year was tumultuous, a high achiever who was knocked around and really faced with the questions, am I good enough? And more than ever, we were also knocked around as parents. Are the grades my kids are getting, are their experiences going to hurt them and their future? And my wife, who is a high achiever, who really values education, I'm a low achiever who values education. She's always done well. And she's really come to the realization that it doesn't matter. Like, we really have come to the realization. And if you're someone who your kid has to get perfect scores, I respect you and where you come from. But once they get to that other place, those perfect scores don't help them as much as the experience of learning and growing. And I can say it, you've got the junior, right? You got the junior. And I think I'm going to get to talk to the students too. Hopefully I'll get to talk to your junior and make it so clear that no matter what happens, they're going to be okay. They're going to be okay. Doesn't matter. Whatever happens, they're going to be okay. If they know and believe, they're going to be okay. And the message to those kids on the rug is that not only are you going to be okay, you're going to be the strongest, most resilient, most courageous group of students because of what you've been through and how you've been able to use that to your advantage. I truly believe that. All this COVID stuff, all that virtual learning, man, what you've been through is amazing. You can do anything. Do you know that? Anything. And you all can believe that. It is true. So this whole past 18 months, this historic closing of schools, I mean, really, we're living through history. This is something that no other families have dealt with, for 100 years. So we really are pioneers. And how we process this is really up to us, how we want to tell the story. There's been some research post-COVID. This is through Challenge Success. And what we've seen is that students, especially female students of color, continue to experience high levels of stress and pressure. Student engagement with learning, which is always a challenge, has been especially low. And students' relationships with adults and peers are strong, yet appeared strained in recent times. One of the things that I believe will help this to create that connection is being able to have a conversation with our kids and really asking them the question, what do you want? When I was asking you, is college something that your daughter wants? That simple question of asking your child, what do you want? And then giving them permission to say what they want. Because if they want what you want, you're aligned. And if they don't want what you want, then you can learn what they want. I talked to one kid. I do a lot of traveling. And I go to many communities where I am super white, like ultra white. I didn't realize how white I am. And it was a community where it was, on a side note, one of the things I did during these tours when I would be in a lot of communities where there's a lot of diversity, at first no one really welcomed me. It was interesting. I'd go to these big schools, 300 students, and it would be 6th through 12th graders on a bleacher in a gymnasium, and they weren't really engaged. And then it was the third event where I walked in and said, how many of you, by a round of applause, don't want to be here? And it was the most applause I ever got at an event. It was extraordinary. And then I said, I totally appreciate that, and what I want to offer is something from a place of love. I think I can help. And if you want to accept this, great. And if you don't, that's great too. I'm great at rejection. I get rejected. I'm married, I get rejected. When I was single, I got rejected. I never stopped getting rejected, so I'm okay. And this is this theme of, as a parent and a caregiver, there's no other relationship that involves more rejection and one-way love than being a parent and a caregiver. And then when I'm in these settings, I create this environment. Well, this was an event. I was in a middle school room in the middle of Washington in a very remote community. And 75% of the students were failing in that middle school classroom. And I asked, by a show of hands, how many of you are getting a failing grade? 3/4 of the hands went up. I said, how many of you would like to get a better grade? And one hand went down. And I was very curious. And I said to him, can I talk to you? Because I always ask permission to talk to them. And that simple act of, can I talk to you? And making space is really remarkable. I do that with my kids too. Sometimes they don't have a choice, but I will ask them, can I talk to you? And he said yes. And I asked him, do you really not want to get a better grade? And he said yes. And I said, this is great. I said, your teacher's over there, and your teacher's teaching you, but you don't want to get a better grade, right? And I said to the teacher, now you can stop teaching, because he's never going to give you what you want. This is such a wonderful day. And of course, then this kid was surprised. And then I asked him, I said, now that you don't have to do something you don't want, what do you want? And he said he wanted to be a race car driver. And I explained, that's really cool. Who's your favorite race car driver? And we established that his favorite race car driver had graduated from high school. So now, if he wants to be a race car driver, he's going to need to graduate from high school. So then I said, do you want to graduate from high school? And he said, yes, he does. All of a sudden, he wanted to. And it was this amazing change of giving someone permission to not want what I wanted and what we wanted, finding out what they do want so they could be motivated to do the things that they need to do to get what they want. Will he be a race car driver? Probably not. But will he learn about cars? Could he meet drivers? Could he understand the mechanics? Could he end up going to a technical school? Could he meet mentors who are involved in that space? Absolutely. But it was this exercise in what do you want and can you dream? And I wasn't planning on talking this much about this, but Fernando, you really reminded me I would love for you, and this is a tough place to just share all your dreams, but I'd love for you to have 5 dreams. I'd love for you to have that professional dream. I'd love for you to have that social dream. I'd love for you to have some crazy dream where people go, Fernando, you're crazy. And you can go, I know. Isn't it great? Isn't it great? Because I'm crazy enough to believe that all these things can happen. And given how connected we all are to each other, and how connected students are to people who are 1 or 2 degrees away from achieving the things they want, it is possible. I was listening to an audiobook on the way over. It's Originals by Adam Grant, Originals. And it was talking about how the students who were able to achieve, it wasn't their parents, although parents are wonderful partners and the most important influencers in their life, it was those who found mentors who were able to achieve at the highest level, which speaks to, as you want, who are the people and the places you could align yourself with so that you can ultimately get to where you want to go. So if you want to be in anime, who's the senior at Aurora West, or within the district, or within the Chicago community, who's the best at anime? You know, who's somebody you can align yourself with? Who's awesome at clarinet? Who are the people? And this is the part of when you dream and want, if you can find the courage and your kids can walk this path, they'll be unstoppable. Does that make sense? Is there anybody who really disagrees with me and thinks I'm an awful person? Because your parenting philosophy might be different. And you know, I'm always interested because in my world, information is not emotional. Information is data. You might say something that I might get upset about, but the information is so important. And that's that relationship with my kid. Emotions get in the way because there's so many. But I want to know, what do you want? What do you really want? So there's a lot of impact, from grades to how's that going to translate to college, to the classes that students are taking, whether they got a pass or a fail. All of that, you know, it matters. I don't think it matters as much as this. If they're uncomfortable, if they're dealing with challenges, can they get help? And it starts as early as kindergarten and first grade. That idea of being a self-advocate. The idea of when I want or need something, can I actually say it? The challenge is that students are not seeking help. Only 15% engaged in college-offered counseling in the past years. Of students who are enrolled in college, only 15% asked for help. So many of them felt shame. So many of them felt discomfort. I don't know how many of your children and family members would be first-generation students. Some of them may be. I don't know if all of you had the luxury, were able to go to college and beyond. First-generation students are the ones that have the hardest time asking for help and have the hardest time engaging. And I also want to just make it clear, for so many first-generation families, grades are incredibly important. They are incredibly important. And I understand that because grades can help when it comes to scholarships and grants and programs. But the other piece is, if a student doesn't get those grades and they don't get those opportunities, a student who goes to community college and gets great grades can transfer to amazing schools. and have the time to go after what they want. I'm a huge fan of many, many paths, but it comes down to what do I want and how can I get that help? All right, I got so much to cover. Hope you're digging this. It's exciting stuff. It's amazing because all of us, there's so many opportunities. I'm thinking I've got a lot of stuff going on in my home with my kids and their struggles and challenges, and it is every day is a day. Every day is a day, but I know it will be okay. I do a lot of research. I write a lot of books. The Naked Roommate book up there, that is my, I don't think I have do I have a thing? Oh, I do have a pointer. There we go. Look at that. It's exciting. The Naked Roommate's a New York Times bestseller, and I include the New York Times thing because I was like a 2.7 student. I went to Glenbrook South High School in Glenview. I was like in the 40th percentile of my class, and that was fine. But I never felt smart enough. I never felt good enough. I always felt like people were better than me. And I was also very overweight, so I couldn't get a date. And people would make fun of my weight, but then I lost weight and they'd make fun of my ears. And then they'd make fun of my height. But I never felt good enough and worthy enough. And it was interesting because, this book is well embraced and celebrated, and I never felt like enough. And it's fun to be able to share that. The Win or Learn book's my latest book, and that takes a lot of what I'm sharing and makes it very simple to be able to follow 5 steps to be able to get where you want to go. Because I want to simplify things. I do a lot of teaching and listening. This, I think, was actually from one of those events in Washington. I have a TED Talk. This was from a program at the University of Texas. That was scary, frightening program. There was like 5,000 people. I was scared to death. It worked out okay. It wasn't my best event, but it was pretty good. I tell people stories. I wrote an advice column for over 20 years. And when I graduated from college, I started my own career. And that was interesting. I stopped writing that a year ago. I recently started a new media venture with the mission of, I want to help students, no matter where they are, find people and places who are living their dream so they can understand the path to get to wherever they want to go. So I interview students, and they share their stories. And I interview professionals, and they share insight, because I truly believe everybody is capable of getting where they want to go. I also have these people in my life. This is my youngest, Asher. This is my middle guy, Harrison. And my oldest is Elijah. And this is my wife, Stephanie. She's a speech pathologist. And that's me with a hat on our trip to Chattanooga. But I love these people so much, and they drive me crazy. And they barely listen, but they are experiencing life in so many ways. And we make it safe as much as possible for them to take risks and process what happens next and know that they're always going to be okay. And we are working as hard as we can, but I can tell you, no matter how amazing you are, and you know this, you got teenagers, you could be the best parent in the world, and your teenager's still going to have a bad day, right? It's like the state of our kids, and you're a pro, you've got 2 out of college, right? It's like this age, especially the high school age, it's hard, isn't it? It's hard. And you can be the best of the best and not always know. So this framework's going to help you. All right. You see more, you know more, you're more involved than ever before. Parents are now first responders in many ways, and we need to know how to respond instead of just reacting. Reacting is emotional. A response is something that's thought out. When you get involved, sometimes people are going to call you names: helicopter parents, lawnmower parents, snowplow parents. I don't think that's fair. I call you the most caring, loving parents who are dealing with unprecedented challenges, and you're amazing. The fact that you're here says everything. The fact that you're watching says everything. You care. So let me give you some rules that you can use. I have my slides available on a website too. So you can take notes, but you can also download all of this. And we can also talk as well. This is not the end of our relationship. This is the beginning. And I'm grateful to be in your corner as you navigate the changes and challenges, and also can report back, which would be wonderful. So step number 1 is to get comfortable with the uncomfortable. Now, my story I'll tell you very quickly, not too quickly, so I'll make sure that you're able to communicate the story, because I could speak very quickly. So I went to a big school. I went to the University of Wisconsin in Madison. And the reason I went to a big school is because in my family, you go to big schools. Why did I want to go to a big school? I don't really know, because it was big, right? I mean, I'm not that big. I wanted to be close to my high school girlfriend because it was a miracle that I had one. Truly, that was an accomplishment that someone actually loved me, and I didn't want to lose her. She was a year younger than me, and I loved her more than I loved myself, and I didn't really like myself that much, so it really wasn't that hard, but she was everything to me. I didn't want to know people because I was tired of looking at the same faces. So I decided to go to this school. I thought my roommate was going to be my friend, and I needed friends because I didn't have any friends. Nobody taught me how to make friends. Friends just happened. I'm not like an alpha male, who can get in a pickup game and high five and, do a keg stand. I take a long time. I'm a slow burn kind of guy. And it's hard for me to make friends. And I didn't realize that it would be difficult. I wanted my roommate to be my best friend. Well, after his parents left, he pulled out some marijuana and he said, "Do you want some?" And I was like, "No thanks, man, I'm full." And I was full of something else. I just didn't want to get high. And he moved out. And that was upsetting because I didn't have a friend and I needed friends. I tried to get involved in a fraternity, but all of the fraternities rejected me. They wouldn't give me a bid. That was upsetting. The only thing I had was Alexis, my girlfriend. And she was where I focused all of my energy. Until Alexis had a conversation with her father. Her dad compared our relationship to a dying puppy, urging Alexis to shoot the puppy. So Alexis did what she had to do, and she ended the relationship, and I was devastated. Because here I was on this beautiful campus, not knowing what I wanted, not knowing how to make friends, not knowing how to deal with change, and it was hard. It was a social storm, an emotional storm, physical, financial, academic. And here's the thing. Whether you have a first grader or a 12th grader, whether you have a freshman or you have a 6th grader, going through change is difficult. If I had the time to get to know you, I could try to understand your changes. You're busy. You're amazing. You're incredible that you're here. You're tired. You had a long day. But you're so full of love, and you want to help, right? Right, I can see it. It's so wonderful, and you're so amazing, and I know, for whatever it means, you're incredible. You're incredible. Change is so hard. Change is so difficult. But nobody really helps us to understand that change. So when I was in this new place, I felt depressed. I felt like a failure. I was anxious. So eventually, I transferred. I left, which is what so many people do when they get uncomfortable. And I transferred to Indiana University. And the reason I transferred there is because I had friends there. My brothers had gone there. My older brothers. I'm like your daughter. I didn't want to go where they went. I'm like, no way. I'm going to pave my own path. And I paved it, and I fell into a ditch. It was so hard. And then there was a fraternity that had to accept me because I was a legacy. So they had no choice. They didn't. But this was really interesting. The first year there was hard. It was really hard. But I got through it. And eventually, I found my people. I joined the campus newspaper. I started writing my advice column. I found people in the fraternity. I started to do other things within the leadership to help me to be in more places with more people. And I was able to be patient, understanding that change is incredibly uncomfortable. Change is hard. We've all been through something so hard the past 18 months. And that is something that connects us all. And it's okay for it to be uncomfortable. Pre-COVID, students weren't equipped to handle change. This is from 2019. 55.9% of students reported feeling hopeless in the past 12 months. That number, oh, I went the wrong way. I was doing so good. I was in a good rhythm. That number was 45.2% in 2011. Let me just put this back. 2019 was 55.9%. 2011 was 45.2%. So you can see that today's students are the most hopeless when it comes to dealing with change. And this doesn't even account for what's happened with COVID. So Fernando, when I talk about dreaming and wanting, it's directly connected to being hopeful or hopeless. When you don't want something and don't have something to look forward to, you tend to not have hope. But when you have something to look forward to and get excited about, you become hopeful. And a lot of students have learned to stop having hope and to stop dreaming because the past 18 months have been so devastating. So reminding them that they can dream and should dream, and it's okay to dream. And for a lot of us, we've been beaten and bruised, and we're still recovering. Here are the 5 changes that students deal with when they go from one place to another. The changes: social, making friends; emotional, dealing with everything between our ears; the physical transition, going from one place to another; the financial transition. If you are worried about finances, the best advice is to find someone who has a lot of money, who figured out how to get to where you want to go. I tell students when they go to college, find the person who's from a similar place who found the money. Because if they found the money, you can find the money. Don't hang out with the people who don't have the money. I mean, you can hang out with them sometimes. I'm not saying to avoid them completely. I'm saying if you need to, put yourself in that place. Work in the financial aid office. Put yourself in a department where you can find the resources and find the people who have the resources, because you will be shocked. There is someone, I know this guy, he's a VP, a vice president of student affairs at a school in Florida. And this guy is so wonderful. There was a student who was walking 2 hours to campus in the Florida heat. And I was sitting around the table and they said, let's get this guy a place to sleep. Let's figure out how we can get him a bed in the residence hall. A bed he's not going to have to pay for. And they actually got that guy a room, and they paid for it. Because this is a kid who showed up and wanted it bad enough, and other people who had the power said, we're going to help. And I see this again and again and again and again. Cepha. That's the acronym, the world's worst acronym. Cepha, social, emotional, physical, financial, academic. And the last one is Cepha. So once you graduate and you get a job, it becomes Cepha. Where's my P? Cepha. Okay, anyway. So you get it. Life is 90% amazing, 10% difficult, or a bunch of BS. The 10% tends to be front-loaded. The past 18 months have been a lot of the BS. If you live 100 years and 10 of those years is BS, that's not so bad, right? But the BS tends to be connected to discomfort and change. If we can accept the discomfort, it becomes so much easier to work through the change. So the answer is, instead of fighting the BS, is to accept it, is to allow it, is to welcome it. It's uncomfortable. It's difficult. At the root of uncomfortable, at the core, is a truth called the universal rejection truth. The universal rejection truth says not everyone and everything will always respond to you the way you want. Lots of people are going to give you what you want. Lots of people will give you what you want. Do you have a daughter? Is that right? A son? A son? Does he always go to bed when you want him to go to bed? He does. That's going to change. That's wonderful right now. That's fantastic. And does your 17-year-old, you have a 16-year-old or 17? 16. And you have a 15. Does your 15-year-old always do what you want? Right. And your 15-year-old will never always do what you want. My wife and I had a conversation about our 13-year-old, because he's been bringing food into his room. Right? I don't know if any of you deal with this. Do you bring food into your room? Are you allowed to? Sometimes, but we'd prefer you not. Right. So my wife gets so upset because she walks into his room and there's an empty bag of chips. There's a bowl with some crusty stuff on it. You know, there's an empty bottle of something. And I said to her, I go, listen, Steph, let's just stop this. You know, not the parenting piece, okay? I said, let's just stop. Let's just let him have food in his room. And let's make the rule he just has to clean it. Because we're never going to win. And all you're going to be is aggravated. So we made the change. He thought we were losing our mind. We said, Harrison, we decided you could have food in your room. We just ask that you take it and put it away so the dogs don't come in. And he's like, are you okay? But the universal rejection truth of having a 15-year-old or a 13-year-old is that they're not always going to give me what I want. And I'm not going to be able to change that. Of course, there are certain things that are, not going to change. He's not going to be smoking in his room and having parties. But the food, it's like the universal rejection truth of dating and relationships. Some people, when I was single, were interested in me. Many more were not. Lots of people looked at me and went, ugh. But then a few were like, oh, okay. The universal rejection truth of being a business person, entrepreneur. Some people want my product. Some people don't. The universal rejection truth of being a speaker. I get nervous every time. I get nervous, are people going to show, right? Because we want them to show. Then I get nervous, are they going to stay? I hope you stay. Then I get nervous, are they going to like what I'm saying? Right? Are you going to like me? Right? And the thing is, you might like me or you might not. But what matters to me is I come here and I pour my heart out and I share what I want to share with love, and then I surrender. I say, you know what, all I can do is offer. The universal rejection truth is so important. It's so important. And so many people don't understand it. And when we deal with rejection, we tend to get so uncomfortable that we become so injured, we oftentimes give up. Our brains process rejection the same way it processes physical pain. I don't know if you know that. When someone doesn't respond the way we want, it hurts. And it hurts our kids. It's difficult when we don't get the grade we want. It's painful. It's painful for your kids, let alone you. You can be the most qualified, the very best, and do everything right, and you will still face rejection. And this is something that so many people, especially young people, don't understand. And there's so many parents who get so upset because if our kids can't do what we want, we sometimes take it as a personal attack. Or we will shame them. Or we will get into arguments that don't really help us to get to the core of why is it that you're doing this. And Do you understand how to get what you want? Galileo is a great example of the universal rejection truth. He had this crazy idea that the earth revolved around the sun, and he was thrown in jail because of this crazy idea. But eventually we realized it wasn't such a crazy idea. Imagine how frustrated Galileo must have been, dealing with the rejection, knowing he was right. And then there are these people who are so exceptional, who have dealt with challenges. I love these tweets. This Ben Sichi guy, this was the day the Mars rover landed. Got a 2.4 in my first semester in college, thought I wasn't cut out for engineering. Today I'm landing 2 spacecraft on Mars and designing one for the moon. STEM is hard, grades ultimately aren't what matters. Curiosity and persistence matter. And it's the truth. It's who inspires you, who excites you, who do you want to emulate, who does that anime that excites you. All the different ways you can do anime. You know, Fernando, I just want to do an aside for you. If you get great at art, like if you do art that just lights you up, I don't know if you've heard of NFTs. Are you familiar with NFTs? It's a new thing. They're non-fungible tokens, and they're connected to blockchains and cryptocurrency. So essentially, you create art, and then you mint it, and it has a blockchain that is unique and one of a kind, and then you can sell that, auction it off. And there are people who are auctioning off their art and work for unbelievable amounts of money. It's really remarkable because everything that we know is changing. 5, 10, like that's where dreaming is so unbelievably important and aligning. All right, rejection, physical pain. I mentioned this. We just know this is something that is there. Social media makes it very difficult because it's like a drip. It's like an IV drip of rejection. And it really can be debilitating. Most people are in rejection denial, a deep, dark, dangerous place where we think everyone and everything should respond the way we want. When we don't get what we want, we hate, hide, and attack, and blame and shame. Information is emotional, but information is data. Mindset's a wonderful book, and you'll often hear about people talking about a growth mindset. A growth mindset is when you add the word yet after a difficult situation. I haven't gotten the grade yet. I haven't gotten the raise yet. I haven't gotten the boyfriend or girlfriend yet, or the acceptance letter yet. When you are great at rejection, you have a growth mindset because you recognize that not everyone and everything will always respond the way you want. So the only way to be the best is to embrace that learning is part of the process, because rejection is part of who we are and how the world operates. So you can fight the truth, hate, hide, and attack, or you can welcome the truth. Look inward, look outward, move forward. And like I said, you're probably thinking, Harlan, you're only on 1. How are you possibly going to get through this in this amount of time? Well, let me explain to you. Having this foundation as a parent and as a caregiver, and you embracing this truth allows you to be present, allows you to listen, and allows you to guide your child as they go through the challenges of going after what they want. Some of them are too uncomfortable to go after what they want. Some of them have tried and struggled, and they don't want to continue. The best things in my life have started with rejection. From being in high school, I got rejected every year until my senior year. My senior year was like the best year of my life, which is why my freshman year in college was so hard, because everything was so great. My advice column, I've got so many stories of people rejecting my column and me saying, thank you for reviewing it. What can I do to be in your newspaper? And it was rejection that started the relationship. My wife rejected me on an online dating site. And then I magically met her at the UPS store in downtown Chicago. Truly, everything in my life that has been great has started with rejection. And you'll see every success story, everybody who has changed the world and contributed in some capacity has dealt with rejection. And if you're a first-gen family, and I work with so many first-gen families, the amount of rejection of coming to a new place, a new country, being surrounded by lots of other people, something I can't even imagine, the amount of societal rejection and systemic rejection. And when that happens, what I tell students is, find someone that looks like you, find someone that's from a similar community as you, who has gotten to the place you want to go, because they're going to help you to work through all the unfair rejection that comes with being who you are, so you can focus on getting where you want to go. And it's amazing how that works, and that ties into the mentoring piece. Okay, so I'm going to fly through this. I'm going to fly through the rest, because it's very easy. Don't panic, think places, people, and patience. Or people, places, and patience. So what do I mean by this? Finding your 5 people, finding your 3 places, and giving things a couple semesters or a year. Whatever you want to create, change, or experience, whatever you want, who are your people? Where are your places? This people, places, and patience works so well. When I'm talking about places, where can you sweat, play, pray, live, learn, lead, love, and work? There's data that says students, especially first-gen students, who engage in an activity or organization outside the classroom are much more likely to persist and graduate. And when it comes to making friends and finding community, it's how you build relationships. One of the most important pieces is when you get to a place, find an organization or activity where you can't be rejected. Spiritual groups and religion, they're great. However you feel, I'm not talking about God. I'm talking about free food and nice people, right? Typically you get free food and nice people. So I'm always hoping that's one thing. But then there's many other ways where you can find connection and community and find your places. Why 3? Because you always have somewhere to go, you always have something to do, and you always have options. When I'm talking to heartbroken teenagers, I tell them there's more than one person who you can love. There's not just one person out of billions. There are many. And when you know there are many, you have power to say what you think and express how you feel. When you have 2 groups of friends, 3 groups of friends, and one group does stupid things, Fernando, if you're in a group and everybody's doing dumb things, or they're drinking, or vaping, or doing something illegal, and you're like, man, that doesn't feel right. If you only have one place and one group of friends, you might put up with it. But if you have 2 or 3, you can say, you know what, man, I'm going to duck out. And you know you're always going to be okay. And it's the power of having people and places. So important throughout this process. Even as early as 1st grade and 2nd grade, the reason we have these activities isn't to drive a lot. It's so that they can find a place in people, right? And get in the habit of it. Where do you find your people? People who are paid, people who are enlisted, people who volunteer. There are people within West Aurora. Sue Fowler, I don't know if you know Sue in the college guidance. I've worked with Sue for years. And Sue's amazing. And she's incredible. And she'll talk to anybody. And you've got so many teachers. And Dr. McCall, I mean, you talk to people, right? Right. Like I have to tell you, even in our brief conversation over cookies with the student ambassadors, your ability to reinforce this idea of dreaming, like we get each other. Because, and the stories, she has so many. So whatever your dreams are, send your kids to talk to her. I'm going to have people talk, if that's okay, right? And parents, you're going to be busy. But you're here because you believe that everybody is worthy and deserving of their dream. Right? Students and parents. All right. So why 5 people? Always someone there. You're never alone. You always have options. Who are some of these people? This is a picture from a campus, the University of Connecticut, but it's fun to see these student leaders. Peer mentors, professors, student ambassadors, spiritual leaders. You got it. No matter where you are, those upperclassmen, captains, those people. When it comes to the importance of mentors and finding your people in places, 9 in 10 workers who have career mentors say they're happy in their jobs. Mentoring and finding someone who's there is key. And in our own lives, if there's something you want, finding those mentors. I'm actively finding mentors now. Before college TV, this is my mission of sharing these stories of students who have been there and done it, helping others to see that they can get there. Patience is the hardest part. We all want it now. Patience is the ability to tolerate discomfort while going after what you want. One of the outcomes of COVID has been the ability to generate joy independent of other people and other things. Some of your kids have not been able to do that. Some of them have. Some of you have. What is it that you can do that will give you a sense of joy independent of other people and other things? And how can we help our children to find at least one of those things? Because if they do that, they'll always have joy in their life. Simple rule number, I think it's number 3. I think I missed, somehow I screwed up my numbering. It's 3. Their struggles belong to them. Their victories belong to you. Kind of tongue in cheek. But the truth is, they're going to struggle. And if we don't give them the room to struggle because we're afraid that they're not going to get to wherever we want them to go, they're not going to have that room to feel the discomfort. So this idea of really nurturing this ability to struggle, and at the same time, when someone struggles, asking them the question, what do you really want and what's your story? Storytelling is great. I love the idea of telling your story as if it's already happened. And I'll do this exercise, and I do it in my own life, I do it with my kids. You leapfrog all the bad stuff. Instead of saying, what do you want to happen tomorrow, you jump ahead. Social, emotional, physical, financial, professional. Here's how you can tell the story. It's this day, and I had an incredible week. You always have an incredible week, right? I'm so proud of myself because I accomplished fill in the blank. The most challenging part was this. The following people helped me. I found answers in the following places. It took me this amount of time to reach my goal. I'm so grateful and proud of myself, my accomplishment. Every Sunday you can do this. Tell the story of your week. I talked to a lot of high-achieving students who were nervous about Monday. And I said, why are you so nervous about Monday? You always make it work. This is silly. Let's jump to Friday. And then if you want to really dream big, it's fill in the blank. I had the most incredible year. I reached my goal and accomplished who knows. And the goal could be for that senior or junior, I applied to the college of my dreams. It's not that I got in. It's I gave them an opportunity to get the greatest gift in the world, and that's a chance to have me as a student. And if they want me, great. And if not, I'll find somewhere else. When students are looking at colleges, I make it so clear. Forget about the name. Think about the places. Where are the places during that first year you're going to put yourself where you're going to find connection and community? During that 3 to 6 months of quiet, how will you get there? All right, simple rule number 4, again, I'm so imperfect. I worked so hard on these. It's just like, I'm never right. Like, I never get it all right. Like, this is the beauty of me. Apply the 24-hour rule. What's the 24-hour rule? Give problems 24 hours to settle and breathe. I'm not encouraging you to drink. It's more the idea of a bottle of wine, breathing. What's going to happen over those 24 hours? Nothing. The problem will still be there. This is great for like first grade and second grade, really practicing the 24-hour rule. That's why I love some of you with younger kids. It's so fun. The next thing is they'll solve the problem. Right? That could happen. Or there'll be new problems. The old problem will no longer be a problem because new and exciting other problems pop up. And most of the time, you're trying to fix the other problem, and they don't even need it fixed. Rule number 5, practice asking, what do you think you should do? And I love this idea of even if you know the answer, because we know you know the answer, but this, what do you think you should do? And then give them time and think places. Where are the places you can get answers and find help? Who are the people who can help you? Teachers, community members. How long will it take to get there? And being patient. To sum this up, life is search, selection, and transition. Transition is a life skill, and it's how we raise resilient and gritty and passionate people. We help them to find their own answers and are on this journey with them as they go through this process. But whatever it is that makes you as a caregiver and parent the most uncomfortable, well, talk to other parents who have been there and done it. Find your 5 people so that you can give your child permission to work through this process. Getting comfortable with the uncomfortable, don't panic, struggles belong to them, apply the 24-hour rule, practice asking, what do you think you should do? These are some books I really enjoy. I mentioned these. You have access to the slides. I'm going to give you a website where you can get all this right now. Mindset's amazing, really helps students to grow. Where you go is not who you'll be, which reinforces the idea that the college isn't going to determine your destiny. The power of habit is really great because it reinforces the idea of having rituals and routines that will carry over and become automatic. And Permission to Feel is another wonderful book that really allows people to be okay feeling the way they feel. I was talking to Lisa D'Amore, who's a psychologist, and I just published this interview, and she was saying mental health isn't about being happy all the time. Mental health is about being able to feel the right feelings that match the situations. You know, you can feel sad, you can feel uncomfortable, you can feel worried. That's mental health. That's okay. You could be mentally healthy. It's when those reactions and feelings aren't right-sized or take over your lives or cause you to hurt yourselves or others. This philosophy of I never lose, I either win or I learn. This is Nelson Mandela's. I could never take credit. But this idea that what would your life look like if you could never lose? What would our kids' life look like if we knew they could never lose? And as the parent and caregiver telling the story, if we say it enough, well, then there's a better chance that they're going to believe it. I have a risk-taking experiment. I recorded these videos to go along with my newest book, Win or Learn. And Win or Learn is like a very easy book. It's like a picture book. It's like 125 pages, but it's a wonderful book. They're actually using it as a first-year reader on some campuses. But it takes this philosophy of what do I want, what makes me uncomfortable, people, places, patience, tell my story, celebrate, reflect, and repeat. And it just makes it crystal clear. You can check out this. There's lots of good resources that can help you to see what I'm talking about isn't just me. I share data research, and I love putting this out there. You can find me on social media. My TikTok has been going crazy. It's like nuts. I've had these videos that have been going viral. I offer advice. But you can also check out my other resources. And here's where you can get the copy of the slides. And you can stay in touch with me. With that, are there any questions I can address? Does anybody have anything that you would like to share? I know I went a little bit longer, but I think that we were kind of thinking this would be our time frame. Are there any questions? Oh, yes, thank you so much. Absolutely. And there's also a way to download that, I believe, too. I think this is the one. You're funny. I know, this is the mask. The mask, I smile a lot. My face is very, I contort my face a lot. You can't really see it. I really try to sell this stuff with my face. So I hope it's been enjoyable. But there's a piece you can download. For those of you who have juniors and seniors, really, I encourage you to follow me on social media because I host a lot of virtual events. I'm hosting a happy, healthy, almost stress-free college planning event. And these are just free events. And then I offer a college success event. And I do a lot of parenting programs in K through 12. And that's really what this is. Are there any other questions? Does anybody have anything else? Did you enjoy this evening? Was this helpful? Was it helpful? I hope, yeah. Oh, I wasn't looking for applause. Thank you. Your time is so valuable, and you're all so wonderful. To come out here, to be face to face, to invest in this evening, and to invest in your families, I just have enormous gratitude. As we continue, you can reach out to me and say, Harlan, I was at your event at West Aurora, and I'll get back to you. And if I don't get back to you fast enough, right, I thought you cared, okay? Because I really do care. Sometimes I just get busy. But I really want to thank you for being here. I'm going to go back to the last one so you can get all the great information and slides.